The distinctive click of a Tesla door handle echoes across the driveway like a gunshot. I freeze halfway out of my Corolla, briefcase still balanced on my knee. A Model Y crystal white, with a gaudy red bow sits in my parents' circular drive where my spot used to be. My spot. For 10 days away on audit rotation, and they've rearranged the universe. Ashley twirls beside it, champagne flute dangling from her French-tipped fingers. Maddie, perfect timing. Her voice carries that particular tone triumphant with a hint of calculation, as if my arrival is an audience she's been waiting for. My phone vibrates in my jacket pocket. Chase Bank alert. I stand motionless, watching my parents emerge from their modest suburban Dallas home. Dad's chest puffed with pride, Mom adjusting her coral cardigan, their faces expectant, waiting for my reaction. I slide my phone out, tap the notification. MALD, Home Fund. Balance $118.96. The numbers refuse to make sense. 10 days ago, $75,043.21. 7 years of methodical saving, of saying no to vacations and designer clothes and fancy restaurants. 7 years of overtime during tax season and taking audit rotations nobody wanted. 7 years toward my craftsman bungalow with the built-in bookshelves and garden window. My fingers tighten around my future home keychain, the engraving pressing into my palm. Surprise. Dad booms, throwing his arms wide. Little sis has wheels worthy of her new career path. I snap a screenshot of the bank alert, lock my phone, and plaster on the smile I reserve for difficult clients. What career path would that be? Marketing consultant, Ashley announces, tossing her blonde waves. For Luminous Strategies, starting Monday. Mom refills Ashley's champagne. Frank made it happen. His golf buddy Malcolm is on their board. The connections click together with audit-trained precision. My money, Dad's connections, Ashley's career. Congratulations, I say, the word tasting like copper pennies. And the down payment? A flicker of discomfort crosses Dad's tanned face before he recovers. Just borrowed from the family emergency account. You know how these opportunities work, strike while the iron's hot. Family emergency account. The neutral term they've used for my house fund since I opened it. The account with my name on it, my signature card, my direct deposits. It's not like you were using it right now. Ashley inspects her manicure, sunlight catching the fresh rhinestones decorating her ring finger. You'll bounce back, you always do. Mom nods, patting my shoulder as she passes. That's our Madeline, steady as they come. I stand perfectly still, cataloging evidence. The Champagne Dom Perignon, not the Prosecco Mom buys for celebrations. The bow custom-made, not pre-packaged. Ashley's new outfit, the tags from Nordstrom still visible when she twirls. 3 weeks, I say quietly. Dad pauses mid-gesture. What's that, sweetheart? 3 weeks until the bank processes my HELOC application. The one where my house fund was supposed to be the collateral. A beat of silence. Ashley's smile falters. Dad claps his hands together. We'll figure something out. Always do. You're the stable one. You understand. The stable one. Their rock. Their ATM. I lift my half-empty travel mug in a mocked toast. Challenge accepted. Ashley's forehead wrinkles in confusion. Mom glances between us, sensing the undercurrent but missing its significance. Dad has already turned toward the Weber grill, clicking the ignition. Who's hungry? Got steaks marinating this morning. For the rest of the afternoon, I observe rather than participate. I watch how Ashley dominates conversations, interrupting my work anecdote to show Mom photos of Tesla accessories. I note how Dad beams when describing the executive package, add-ons the same pride absent when I mentioned my promotion last month. I catalog the side conversations. The house fund was just sitting there. She makes plenty at that energy company. Always been too cautious with money. Not like she's found someone to settle down with. When Mom corners me in the kitchen, her voice drops to a conspiratorial whisper. Don't take it personally, dear. Ashley needed this boost. You know how fragile her confidence can be. I nod mechanically while calculating interest rates and application timelines in my head. Ashley preens in the driveway, posing for Dad's photos. You should see the acceleration on this thing, Maddie. 0 to 60 in like nothing. 0 to 75,000 in 10 days. The afternoon stretches into evening. Dad grills steaks with unnecessary flourish. Mom serves her special potato salad. Ashley demonstrates Tesla's entertainment system. I observe, silent except when directly addressed, my mind working through scenarios with the precision that makes me exceptional at my job. As twilight settles, I collect my briefcase and keys. Mom kisses my cheek. Bring your peach cobbler next time, dear. It's so homespun. I promise I will, already knowing there won't be a next Timonot like this anyway. The drive to my apartment passes in silence. 2 hours later, Ashley's voice replaying in my head. You'll bounce back, you always do. 33 years old, senior risk officer, empty savings account. I park in my modest complex, twisting my class ring, the one I bought myself after graduation. My phone chimes with a text from Dad. Proud of you for being such a good sport today. Ashley says thank you. All caps, like shouting gratitude will make the theft less criminal. That night, as my alarm clock glows at 2:17 a.m., I stare at the ceiling, the day's humiliation looping through my mind. Ashley's entitled smile, Dad's dismissive chuckle, Mom's enabling pat on my shoulder. I slip from bed and move to my home office. My laptop screen illuminates my face as I begin researching apartment listings in Denver, where my college roommate Jillian now sells real estate. I had no idea that my sister's entitled smile would be the last favor she ever did for me. I lie awake, staring at the popcorn ceiling of my apartment, the shadows playing like old home movies across the textured surface. Sleep isn't coming tonight. Not with 75,000 reasons to stay awake. I swing my legs over the edge of the bed and pad barefoot to my kitchen table. My financial statements wait in a neat stack beside my legal pad, organized by date. The yellow paper catches the light from my desk lamp, illuminating 7 years of methodical planning, reduced to ashes in 10 days. I trace my finger over the bank statement. $118.96. The numbers mock me, sharp as glass shards. My phone buzzes. A text from Dad. Sleep tight, kiddo. So proud of your generous heart. Generous. As if I'd had a choice. This isn't the first time. The pattern sprawls across my legal pad in precise columns of dates and dollar amounts. $8,000 to Dad for emergency back surgery 3 years ago. The Caribbean cruise photos appeared on Facebook 4 weeks later. Doctor's orders, he'd claimed when I questioned the timing. Salt air heals. $12,000 to Ashley for a tuition emergency that somehow coincided with her Coachella VIP package Instagram posts. It was a networking opportunity, she'd explained, twirling her festival wristband. You wouldn't understand the importance of connections in marketing. 7 years of family loans never repaid. 7 years of downsizing my apartment to help with their mortgage. 7 years of putting career opportunities on hold for family emergencies that seemed to revolve around Ashley's comfort. I study my reflection in the darkened window. Is this really where 33 years had led? A senior risk officer who couldn't protect her own finances from the people who should care about her future? The kitchen clock ticks toward 4 a.m. I grab my phone and dial. Madeline? Caleb's voice rasps with sleep. What time is it? Early. I straighten my shoulders. Remember that internal fraud case we handled last year? I need your expertise, personally. Silence stretches between us. Then, give me 20 minutes to brew coffee, I'll call you back. While waiting, I list practical barriers in my precise handwriting. Apartment hunting timeline. Account security measures. Credit monitoring setup. 21 days until my company's annual financial ethics conference. 21 days to either salvage my professional dignity or become a case study in willful financial blindness. When Caleb calls back, his voice has shed its sleep fog. Walk me through what happened. I outline the Tesla, the champagne, the drained account. My voice remains steady, each fact laid out with audit precision. Jesus, Maddie. The nickname slips out, a rarity from professionally distant Caleb. That's not borrowing, that's theft. I'm aware. The words feel strange in my mouth. Naming it makes it real. You're going to report them? My pen hovers over the legal pad. The question hangs between us like smoke. I'm exploring options. There aren't many. Keyboard clicks punctuate his words. Identity theft protocols are clear. Either you authorized the withdrawal or you didn't. The future home keychain sits beside my statements, the engraving catching the lamplight. 5 more years of saving, minimum. 5 years of overtime and audit rotations. 5 years I hadn't planned on spending alone in this apartment with the leaky bathroom faucet. Send me everything you have. Caleb's voice cuts through my thoughts. Bank statements, account access records, communication history, start with 6 months back. I have 7 years documented. A low whistle. Of course you do. You're Madeline Turner. By sunrise, my risk management notebook contains a precise action plan, each step meticulously outlined, contingencies mapped. The first page lists procedures for identity theft reporting. The second, financial recovery strategies. The third, legal options with estimated timelines. A knock at the door startles me from double-checking citations. Jillian stands in the hallway, balancing 2 coffee cups and a bakery bag. Her red hair is twisted into a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes betraying an early wake-up call. Her expression shifts from sleepy to fierce when she sees my face. I brought reinforcements. She pushes past me, setting breakfast on the counter. Denver listings for tonight. I've been waiting for this call for years. I haven't called you yet. Your text said financial situation. At 5 a.m. She hands me coffee. I can translate Turner speak. She surveys the paperwork spread across my table. You're really doing it this time? Not just talking about boundaries? I tap my pen against the first form, bank fraud report, 5 pages of declaration that my family stole from me. My signature line waits at the bottom, blank and terrifying. They took my house, Jill. They took your money. The house is still out there waiting. She squeezes my shoulder. Different neighborhood maybe, different timeline, but it'll be yours. By 8 a.m., I've logged my first official report with the bank's fraud department. The weight of my decision should have been crushing, but instead, I feel the first clear-headed moment I've had in years. The phone rings. Mom's name flashes on the screen. I silence it and turn back to my planning. The time for accommodating their expectations has passed. Today, I choose myself. 7 days after discovering my emptied savings account, I sit in a stark conference room at First Western Bank, the leather chair cool against my back. The contrast between this sterile space and my parents' cozy suburban home couldn't be more pronounced. One designed for financial protection, the other apparently serving as the staging ground for my financial ruin. The mechanical click of the bank vault door closing somewhere down the hall reaches my ears, a sound that would become my anthem of security. Miss Turner? The security officer extends his hand. Thomas Bradley. I shake it firmly. I need to understand exactly how my credentials were compromised. Bradley, with salt and pepper temples and a former military bearing, nods without unnecessary sympathy. Your signature cards were altered approximately 18 months ago. Someone with existing partial authorization made the modification. My stomach tightens. 18 months, while I was covering Dad's medical copays. The additional digital authorization was granted to Frank Turner. Bradley slides a document across the polished table. Your father? Yes. And later, electronic access was extended to an Ashley Turner. I nod, my throat suddenly parched. My sister. Bradley types something into his tablet. We've revoked all secondary access and implemented biometric verification for your new accounts. Fingerprint and facial recognition. Good. I tap my own tablet. What about these dormant joint accounts from my college years? He frowns, taking the device. I don't see these in our system. They wouldn't be. Different institutions. I swipe to the next screen. My colleague Caleb found them during our audit. Accounts I'd forgotten about still had my parents as co-signers. Bradley's eyebrows rise slightly. Your colleague conducted a personal financial audit for you? Forensic accounting is his specialty. I don't mention that Caleb has been working nights on this with me, fueled by delivery pizza and professional outrage. We've found unusual activity in 3 of these accounts. The security officer studies the spreadsheet, professional curiosity overtaking his neutral expression. This pattern suggests systematic testing small withdrawals to verify access before larger transactions. 10 days, I say, more to myself than to Bradley. Pardon? 10 days until the possible breach of my collateral obligations. 10 days to untangle 7 years of financial manipulation. Bradley's posture changes subtly. Miss Turner, this may require law enforcement involvement. Already scheduled. I check my watch. Detective Ramirez from Financial Crimes will meet us here in 20 minutes. Bradley's expression shifts from professional concern to something resembling respect. You've been thorough. Risk assessment is my job. The words come out sharper than intended. Sorry, this situation is personal. Understandably. Bradley gathers his materials. I'll prepare the conference room for Detective Ramirez. When the detective arrives, he isn't what I expected. Luis Ramirez has kind eyes that contradict his methodical manner, his badge gleaming against a charcoal suit that's seen better days. Miss Turner. His handshake is warm but brief. I've reviewed your preliminary documentation. Most victims don't provide such organized evidence. Most victims don't audit energy companies for a living. That earns a small smile. True. He places a worn leather portfolio on the table. This isn't just family borrowing money, Miss Turner. The pattern and documentation shows clear identity theft. I've known this, intellectually. Hearing it stated as fact by law enforcement makes my chest constrict. Your professional background makes this case particularly sensitive, Ramirez continues. The DA might want to make an example. I stare at him. An example of what? Financial crimes against professionals. Shows no one's immune. He opens his portfolio. It could mean higher penalties for the perpetrators. The perpetrators. My family. Dad with his golf buddies and grilling showmanship. Mom with her Teacher of the Year plaques. Ashley with her champagne flute and Tesla. What's the next step? I ask, refocusing. For the next hour, Ramirez walks me through affidavits and sworn statements. My signature grows progressively tighter across the bottom of each page. When we finish, exhaustion washes over Mino from the paperwork, but from the weight of what I've set in motion. I gather my things, nearly forgetting my keychain on the conference table. Miss Turner, Ramirez catches it before I reach the door. The future home engraving catches the fluorescent light. You'll need this. Don't lose sight of what you're protecting. As he hands it over, I notice his own keys have somehow become entangled with mine. He untangles them with an embarrassed smile. Though maybe not with police headquarters access, he adds, separating a large brass key from my chain. The unexpected lightness of the moment hits me. I laugh a sound so foreign it startles me. That would certainly complicate your security protocols. His eyes crinkle. Exactly, and we have enough complications already. Outside the bank, Dallas summer heat blankets me instantly. I look at my keychain, thumb tracing the engraving that once represented hope, then betrayal, and now, reclamation. My phone buzzes with a text from Caleb. Found something. Office as soon as possible. I slide into my Corolla, the vinyl seats burning through my slacks. As I start the engine, the radio automatically connects to my phone, Ashley's voice filling the car from a weeks-old voicemail. Maddie, can you transfer me just a tiny bit for brunch? Promise to pay you back. I jab the power button with enough force to hurt my finger. The silence that follows feels like the first honest thing I've heard in years. 20 minutes later, the distinctive tap 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 of Caleb's mechanical pencil against the spreadsheet marks another entry in our growing ledger of deceit. 3 weeks into the investigation, the scope of betrayal has become painfully quantified in columns of numbers that stretch across my dining table. $210,000, Caleb announces, circling the final tally with such force his pencil tip breaks. That's the total they siphoned over 4 years. I stare at the figure, trying to reconcile it with the modest suburban house where I grew up, with my father's golf clubs and my mother's Macy's shopping bags. With Ashley's manicures that never chipped and her spring break trips that never seemed to end? That can't be right. My voice sounds hollow even to my own ears. It is. Caleb slides the forensic accounting report toward me. Micro-transfers. Most under $500. Just small enough that you might not notice, if you weren't reconciling regularly. I wasn't. Between 60-hour work weeks during tax season and taking every audit rotation nobody wanted, I'd trusted the family emergency account was serving its stated purpose. I laugh, the sound sharp and humorless in my quiet apartment. I audit people for a living. I live in SOX compliance and walk through tests. My fingers curl around my future home keychain, the engraving pressing into my palm. And I never once audited my own family. Caleb doesn't offer empty comfort. Instead, he opens his laptop and turns the screen toward me. There's more. Ashley has been listing you as an employment reference, with forged testimonials. The email displays my supposed recommendation for Ashley at Luminous Strategies, complete with my electronic signature and NGC Energy letterhead. She forged my signature. I lean closer, professional instincts kicking in despite the personal violation. Look at the curve on the M. I always loop it tighter. The Tesla loan is worse. Caleb clicks to another document. You're listed as a co-signer. They needed your credit rating to qualify for the executive package Frank was so proud of. The room tilts slightly. 48 hours until my meeting with the bank's senior loan officer about the HELOC application. 48 hours before I have to explain why my stellar credit history now shows a $75,000 auto loan I never approved. I stand abruptly, pacing the confines of my apartment, calculating the damage. $210,000 stolen plus $75,000 for the Tesla equals 5 to 7 more years of saving. 5 to 7 more years before I can stand in my own foyer with built-in bookshelves and that garden window I've sketched a dozen times. The tap-tap-tap of Caleb's pencil continues, each sound like a heartbeat measuring the distance between who I was 3 weeks ago and who I am becoming. My phone vibrates against the table. Detective Ramirez, I tell Caleb, answering the call. Miss Turner. The detective's voice carries the calm authority I've come to appreciate. The warrant's been approved. First National just sent over the complete electronic records. And? The paper trail is undeniable. Account access timestamps match login records from your parents' home IP address. We have Frank Turner on video making withdrawals using your account information. I close my eyes, seeing my father's tanned face. His easy smile when explaining the Tesla was an investment in Ashley's future. A future built on the ashes of mine. What happens now? The DA reviews the case file on Thursday. After disconnecting, I find Caleb watching me with the careful assessment of someone who's witnessed financial disasters before, just never one so personal. I need to tell my supervisor. The decision forms with sudden clarity. Before this affects my security clearance. In the morning, I walk into James Wilson's office with printouts of the police report and bank records. I place them on his desk with hands that don't shake. I need to take personal leave, I say. I've become the victim in a financial crimes case. James looks up sharply, his 20 years in energy sector compliance visible in the way he immediately grasps the professional implications. He flips through the documents with efficiency that almost matches my own. Family? He asks, noting the shared surname. Yes. Christ, Madeline. He closes the folder. Take whatever time you need. Do you want to legally review any of this? That would be helpful. Consider it done. He stands, extending his hand. For what it's worth, in 15 years of management, I've never questioned your judgment. That hasn't changed today. If you've ever had to explain to your boss why your family's financial crimes might impact your security clearance, you know exactly how liberating professional honesty can be. Walking back to my office, I feel lighter than I have in weeks. My computer chimes with a new email notification as I gather my belongings. Detective Ramirez's name appears in my inbox with a subject line that sends a surge of adrenaline through my chest. Case file complete. DAW review scheduled for Thursday. I touch the future home keychain in my pocket, running my finger over the engraving. Not yet, I think. I won't surrender what they couldn't appreciate. Through my office window, Dallas sprawls beneath a perfect blue sky. Somewhere out there, my parents are probably helping Ashley select Tesla accessories, all on my unknowing dime. Somewhere out there, a DA is about to receive documentation of every betrayal, every forged signature, every stolen dollar. I sit at my desk and draft an email to NGC Energy's security team requesting a complete credential audit. If Ashley has been using my professional references, there's no telling what else she's accessed. The reply comes almost immediately. Security review initiated. Preliminary finding: multiple unauthorized access attempts to your personnel profile from external IP addresses. The office seems too small suddenly, the walls pressing in with possibilities I haven't yet calculated. I pick up my phone and dial Caleb. I need to know exactly what she's applied for using my name. His pause tells me everything. Madeline. His voice drops. She applied for a position here, last month, using your experience profile with additional qualifications. I laugh, the sound startling a passing colleague. At my own company? The application's still in HR's system. I should feel violated. Instead, a strange calm settles over me. This isn't just about money anymore, it's about my professional identity. The one thing Ashley couldn't stand to build on her own. I forward the security report to Detective Ramirez, adding it to the growing case file. The tap-tap-tap of my keyboard replaces Caleb's pencil, each keystroke a reclamation of my narrative. Not 5 to 7 more years. Not anymore. I refuse to reset the clock on my life because they couldn't imagine me having one separate from theirs. I'm thinking about Denver. I tell Caleb when he arrives with lunch later that day. Jillian says the market there is reasonable. He nods, understanding this isn't just about real estate. When do we start looking? After Thursday, I say, and open my email to find the DA's confirmation receipt glowing on my screen. Weeks after filing the first report, I sat in my attorney's office reviewing the DA's charging decision. The wood-paneled walls surrounded us like a fortress against the outside world, where my family's name now appeared in the business section of the Dallas Morning News. 3 counts of identity theft, 4 counts of wire fraud, and 2 counts of financial elder abuse, Monica Walsh read, her voice as crisp as her white bob haircut. She lowered her reading glasses to study my reaction. They've classified you as the elder in this case, despite your age. Ironic. I smoothed the edge of my navy skirt. Most of my life, I've felt like a parent anyway. Monica closed her heavy legal binder with an authoritative thuda sound that signified the separation between emotion and evidence. That distinction had become my lifeline these past weeks. Most victims I represent are the parents. This role reversal where you're the younger victim fascinates me. Monica leaned back in her leather chair. Your documentation is exceptional. The bank examiner specifically mentioned it. I didn't tell her I'd spent 3 sleepless nights organizing every transaction into color-coded spreadsheets. Or that I'd replayed every conversation with my father about just borrowing from my accounts, transcribing them from memory with timestamps. Risk management background, I said instead. Documentation is second nature. The Dallas summer heat pressed against the windows while the air conditioning battled it back. 14 days until my testimony before the grand jury. 14 days to prepare for the public revelation of private betrayal. My fingers found the future home keychain in my pocket. The engraving felt like braille under my thumb, a reminder of what I was fighting for. Monica noticed the movement. That's your anchor. When you testify, keep it in your pocket. Touch it when you need to remember why you're doing this. The past weeks had fallen into a strange rhythm. Early morning runs through quiet Dallas neighborhoods before the heat became oppressive. The sound of my sneakers hitting pavement provided a steady counterbeat to the chaos. Evenings reviewing financial safeguards with Caleb, his mechanical pencil tapping against printouts of subpoena bank records. Weekends with Jillian, touring smaller houses in neighborhoods I'd previously overlooked. Your portfolio is impressive, Jillian had said last Sunday, standing in a modest Craftsman with surprisingly good bones. Even with what they took, you've positioned yourself well. Denver has grant programs for first-time buyers too. Denver, I'd repeated, testing how the word felt. Like possibility, like distance. My phone buzzed on Monica's desk. Dad's number, the third call today. You should listen to it, Monica said. If it's another attempt at coercion, we'll add it to the file. I put the call on speaker and set the phone on her desk between us. Maddie, please. His voice cracked, nothing like the booming confidence that had announced Ashley's career opportunity that day. Your mother's having chest pains. This is killing her. Please drop the charges. I felt a flash of something molten rise in my chest, then cool into resolve. I ended the voicemail and forwarded the recording to Detective Ramirez without replying. Witness intimidation, Monica said, her pen scratching notes. Classic guilt manipulation. Used to work every time, I admitted. Not anymore, Monica said, and I caught the approval in her nod. You're thinking like someone who's going to win. Documenting every contact wasn't just procedural, it was building the wall between their manipulation and my resolve. Every forwarded message, every recorded call, another brick in my protection. After Monica's office, I met Detective Ramirez at the station. His salt and pepper hair seemed grayer than 6 weeks ago, but his methodical manner remained unchanged. New development, he said, sliding a folder across his desk. Found these during the execution of our warrant. Inside were copies of job applications, my credentials, my experience, my professional references, all with Ashley's name substituted for mine. She's been using your qualifications for years, Ramirez said, including an application to NGC Energy 3 months ago. I stared at the forgery. My sister had applied for a position at my own company using my resume. Of course she did. The words tasted bitter. Why build your own reputation when you can steal someone else's? That evening, Jillian brought takeout Thai food to my apartment. The spice of the curry matched the fire still burning in my stomach. At least she thinks your job is impressive enough to steal, Jillian said, pouring more wine into my glass. Twisted compliment. I laughed despite myself. Forensic accountants aren't usually the identities people choose to steal. Your sister aims high in her crimes. Jillian raised her glass. To Ashley, who unwittingly funded your escape from Dallas. I didn't raise my glass. This isn't a celebration, Jill. It's a funeral for what I thought my family was. Jillian set her glass down. You're right. I'm sorry. Later, after Jillian left, I stood at my apartment window watching the lights of downtown Dallas. The skyline I'd grown up with, the city I'd planned to build my future in. A text from Caleb lit up my phone. Final documents submitted to DA. They're pushing for maximum restitution. The anger that had propelled me through these weeks settled into something cooler, more calculating. Not revenge justice. The distinction mattered to me, even if no one else could see the difference. I pulled up real estate listings in Denver on my laptop. Mountains filled the background of property photos, a horizon, nothing like the flat Texas landscape I knew. Something about that appealed to me. The topography of my life needed elevation changes. The future home keychain caught the light from my screen. I'd need to find a Denver realtor to replace Jillian. The thought sent an unexpected pang through me, only more loss in the column of collateral damage. I closed my eyes and pictured the courtroom that awaited me, not with dread but with a strange, smoldering certainty. In my professional life, I'd always been the one ensuring others followed the rules. Now I would ensure my family did too. And that felt less like vengeance and more like finally balancing the books. The morning of my grand jury testimony arrived with Dallas summer heat that matched the intensity of what lay ahead. My navy suit, the one reserved for board presentations and corporate audits, felt like armor as I approached the courthouse steps. Each click of my heels against concrete echoed with finality. They were already there. Of course they were. Frank stood with his arm around Denise. Her coral cardigan replaced by a buttercream blouse that screamed, "Respectable mother." Ashley hung back between two stone-faced uncles I barely recognized from holiday gatherings. Her designer sunglasses couldn't hide the puffiness around her eyes. "Madeline," Uncle Robert's voice carried across the courthouse plaza. "This family meeting could have happened at home instead of here." I clutched my evidence binder tighter, the plastic cool against my palms. Monica appeared at my elbow, silver hair gleaming in the morning sun. "Miss Turner won't be speaking with any of you," she announced, guiding me toward the entrance. "Save it for your own testimony." Frank lurched forward. "Maddie, please. Your mother barely slept." "Neither did I." The words escaped before I could filter them. "For about 7 years." The courthouse doors swung open as a bailiff stepped out. "Turner case?" I nodded. "Grand jury's assembling. 10 minutes." The heavy doors closed behind us with a resonant thud, sealing me away from their influence, if only temporarily. The sound reverberated through the marble hallway, a period at the end of a sentence I'd been writing for months. Monica squeezed my elbow. "Remember what we discussed. Stick to facts, dates, documentation, no editorial comments unless directly asked." I nodded, mentally reviewing the sequence of evidence we'd prepared. 7 years of unauthorized transfers, forged signatures, the Tesla purchase that finally broke the pattern. Monica's heels clicked purposefully beside mine as we navigated the courthouse labyrinth. "Miss Turner?" A man in an expensive suit materialized from an alcove. "Gregory Williamson. I represent Ashley Turner." Monica stepped between us. Any communication should go through. "Just one moment." His tone was reasonable, his eyes calculating. "Your sister is prepared to claim you authorized all transactions as gifts." The hallway tilted slightly. My fingers found the keychain in my pocket. "We have the records of your previous generosity," he continued. "College tuition, medical bills, the same account patterns for years." "Unauthorized withdrawals," I corrected, but doubt had already slipped its fingers around my throat. Would a jury believe my sudden change of heart? Years of financial support followed by criminal charges when the pattern continued? The bank statements showed consistency, only the amounts had escalated. Williamson leaned closer. "Frank and Denise will testify to your habit of helping family, your history of voluntary financial support, your pride in being the responsible one." My mind flashed to Thanksgiving 5 years ago. Frank raising a toast to Maddie, always helping out when we need it most. To Christmas cards thanking me for being our rock. To birthday dinners where they'd laughed about my money smarts, keeping everyone afloat. The carefully constructed case in my binder suddenly seemed flimsy, built on shifting interpretations. My word against theirs. The professional reputation I'd spent a decade building could crumble under accusations of vindictiveness toward my own family. "Miss Turner has nothing to say to you." Monica's voice cut through my spiral. "Step back or I'll have security escort you away for witness intimidation." 3 minutes, until I would be called to testify. 3 minutes to either commit to truth or surrender to family mythology. My fingers traced the engraving on my keychain. Future home. Not their home, not their future. Mine. The courtroom doors opened, Inside, 18 grand jurors waited. Ordinary citizens pulled from their lives to evaluate evidence of extraordinary betrayal. "Ready?" Monica whispered. I nodded, shoulders squaring as I followed the bailiff. The room fell silent as I settled into the witness chair. The prosecutor, a woman with steel-rimmed glasses and practical brown hair, nodded slightly. "Please state your name and occupation for the record." Madeline Diane Turner, Senior Risk and Controls Officer at NGC Energy. "Miss Turner, you've provided documentation alleging financial crimes committed against you by members of your immediate family. Walk us through the timeline." I opened my binder, and for the next 40 minutes, I spoke with the precision that had earned me promotions and respect in my field. No emotional flourishes, no dramatic pauses. Just evidence, meticulously catalogued. The first unauthorized withdrawal occurred the 15th of March, 2018. $8,000 transferred from my primary savings to my father's checking account. Documentation tab 1 shows the electronic signature does not match my authorized signature card. With each exhibit, each bank statement, each forged document, the jurors leaned forward. Their expressions shifted from polite attention to focused concern. On May 3rd of this year, $75,000 was withdrawn from my home savings fund. Security footage from Chase Bank shows my father, Frank Turner, conducting this transaction in person, using account access information I never authorized him to possess. The prosecutor placed a document before me, and this Tesla purchase agreement contains my forged signature as co-signer, dated May 4th. The vehicle was presented to my sister Ashley Turner the following day. A juror in the front row, a woman about my mother's age, with similar coral-toned lipstick, frowned deeply. "You never gave permission for any of these transactions?" "No, ma'am, I did not." "And you maintained separate accounts specifically to keep your finances independent?" "Yes. The home fund was established solely in my name with my earnings for the specific purpose of purchasing property." The questioning continued, methodical and thorough. When the prosecutor finished, she turned to the jury foreman. "Does the grand jury have additional questions for this witness?" A man in a faded denim shirt raised his hand. "Did you confront your family before pursuing criminal charges?" "Yes, sir. The day of the Tesla purchase. They acknowledged taking the money but claimed it was their right to use what they called the family emergency account for my sister's benefit." The room fell silent. I could feel 18 pairs of eyes evaluating not just my evidence, but my composure, my credibility. The foreman spoke after a whispered consultation. "We have what we need. Thank you, Miss Turner." I gathered my materials, suddenly aware of how tightly I'd been gripping the binder. The deliberation would happen without me, but the weight of my testimony hung in the air. As I exited, the prosecutor touched my arm. "Well presented." Through the gallery windows, I spotted Jillian in the hallway, coffee cups in hand. She mouthed something I couldn't quite read, but her fierce smile told me enough. 20 minutes later, the bailiff reappeared. "The grand jury has reached a decision," he announced. "They find sufficient evidence to proceed with criminal charges against Frank Turner, Denise Turner, and Ashley Turner for identity theft, fraud, and financial exploitation." The foreman nodded solemnly in my direction as the formal language was read, not with pity, but with something that looked remarkably like respect. As the court officer led me out through a side exit, he glanced at my binder. "You with the prosecutor's office? That was a textbook presentation." "No," I replied, the word feeling like the first truthful thing I'd said in years. "I'm just the victim who finally started keeping receipts." The next day, the distinctive chime of my doorbell echoes through my apartment 24 hours after the indictments were announced. I freeze at my kitchen counter, coffee mug suspended halfway to my lips. No one rings that bell except delivery drivers, and I'm not expecting packages. Through the peephole, my parents' distorted faces swim into view. Frank's posture has collapsed, shoulders hunched forward instead of squared back in his usual commanding stance. Beside him, Denise clutches her coral cardigan closed at her throat like armor. I stand motionless, watching them shift their weight from foot to foot. Mrs. Abernathy from 4B walks past with her miniature schnauzer, slowing to observe the scene unfolding on my doorstep. My neighborhood has never witnessed the Turner family drama before. At least someone's getting entertainment value from this catastrophe. Frank raises his fist to knock again but hesitates, his hand trembling visibly. The reversal of authority hangs in the air as clear as the quaver in his voice when he finally speaks. "Madeline, please. We know you're in there. Your car's outside." I unlock the door but leave the security chain fastened, creating a narrow barrier between us. "I have a meeting in 2 hours. What do you want?" 2 hours? Frank checks his watch, a nervous habit I've seen countless times. "We need more time than that to sort this out." There's nothing to sort out. The grand jury made their decision. Denise's eyes dart toward Mrs. Abernathy, who has slowed her dog walk to an imperceptible crawl. "Can we please come inside? This isn't appropriate for public discussion." Neither was stealing my house fund, but that didn't stop you. Frank's face flushes crimson. "We're your parents." The words hang suspended between us. Once, that declaration would have been enough to silence any objection, to make me reach for my checkbook, to remind me of my place as the responsible one. I met his gaze. "Yes, and I trusted you with that role. The evidence shows you abused it systematically." A passing neighbor slows his steps, fascinated by the spectacle. Frank notices and lowers his voice. "Please, Maddie, just 10 minutes." I close the door, remove the chain, and open it wide enough for them to enter. They shuffle past me, smelling of the perfume and aftershave they've worn since I was a child. The familiar scents no longer bring comfort, just a hollow reminder of all they were supposed to be. My apartment is precisely arranged, files stacked on the dining table for my final meeting with Detective Ramirez before flying to Denver for job interviews. Evidence of my escape plan in plain sight. 2 hours, I remind them, pointing to the sofa while I take the armchair across from them. I don't offer coffee. "The lawyers called this morning," Frank begins, his sales pitch voice absent for perhaps the first time in my life. "They've presented us with options." "Options?" I repeat, the word flat. Denise nods rapidly. "We've made a decision, Madeline. We're going to testify against Ashley." The statement should shock me. Parents turning against their golden child to save themselves. But the forensic accountant in me had calculated this probability weeks ago. The prosecutor offered reduced charges if we cooperate. Frank continues, his words tumbling over each other. "We didn't know the extent, Maddie. We thought it was just the house fund. We never realized she was using your identity for years." I maintain my silence, allowing the awkward pause to stretch. Frank used to fill my silences with jokes or distraction. Now he simply withers under my gaze. "Say something," Denise pleads. "I'm not surprised," I tell them, voice steady. "You've always protected yourselves first." They flinch in unison, a synchronized acknowledgement of accuracy. "That's not fair," Frank attempts. "No? Who called to tell me Mom was having chest pains the moment charges were filed? Who used my college fund for a kitchen renovation? Who taught Ashley that my resources were community property while my needs were personal problems?" The questions land like body blows. 7 years of unasked questions compressed into 30 seconds. Denise's eyes fill with tears. "Where will we go when this is over?" The question reveals everything about their priorities. No apologies, not making amends, just securing their next safety net. I let her question hang unanswered as I stand and check my watch. I have work to finish before my meeting. "With the detective?" Frank asks, alarm crossing his features. "What more could you possibly tell him?" "That's between me and the Financial Crimes Division." Frank rises, hands extended in supplication. "We made mistakes, Maddie. Terrible mistakes. But surely there's a way to handle this without destroying the entire family. I consider the word family, how it's been weaponized against me since childhood. The sacred cow that justified every sacrifice I made, every boundary they trampled. The family was destroyed the moment you prioritized Ashley's Tesla over my future. I'm simply documenting the wreckage. We can pay you back, Denise offers, desperation edging her voice. With what funds? The ones you've hidden, or the ones you haven't stolen yet? Frank's face hardens momentarily, a flicker of the authoritarian father resurfacing. That's enough, Madeline. No. I say. The word's simple but firm. It's not nearly enough. But that's all I have time for today. I open my front door, the universal signal for departure. They hesitate, unused to my directness, to this new woman who doesn't crumble under their expectations. The DA mentioned potential house arrest rather than jail time if we cooperate fully, Frank says, trying one last angle. We could stay with you while the legal process. No. The single syllable slices through his sentence. Denise grabs his arm, pulling him toward the door before he can make things worse. We'll call you after we meet with the lawyers tomorrow, she says. Don't. I'll be in Denver. Any communication should go through Monica. Your attorney, Frank says, the word bitter on his tongue. Yes, my attorney. After they leave, I lock the door and lean against it, listening to their retreating footsteps. My heart hammers against my ribs, but my hands remain steady. The confrontation that would have once left me shaking with guilt now feels like necessary surgery, painful but cleansing. 2 hours later, I sat across from Detective Ramirez, discussing final case details before my Denver trip. Your parents contacted the prosecutor this morning, he confirms, sliding a document across the table. They've agreed to testify against your sister in exchange for reduced charges. I know. They came to my apartment. He raises an eyebrow. And how do you feel about that? Professionally or personally? Both if you're willing to share. I consider the question while tracing the outline of my house keychain in my pocket. Professionally, it strengthens the case. Personally, I pause, searching for the right words. I don't hate them. I just finally see them clearly. Ramirez nods, understanding the distinction. Later that evening, as Jillian helps me pack for Denver, she asks the question everyone seems to be circling. Do you regret reporting them? It's okay if you do sometimes. I fold a blazer with precise corners. No, Ashley's entitled smile that day was indeed the last favor she did for me, showing me exactly who my family had become while I wasn't looking. And who you had become while they weren't looking, Jillian adds, zipping my suitcase closed. She's right. The woman preparing to board a flight to Denver bears only a passing resemblance to the one who once twisted herself into financial knots to please people who saw her only as a resource. The price of clarity has been steep severed family ties, legal proceedings, starting over at 33. But as I lock my apartment for the night, I know with absolute certainty that I finally purchased something worth having, the freedom to build a future that belongs entirely to me. After 6 months, the distinctive ping of a bank notification cuts through my morning ritual. After the sentencing hearing, these alerts no longer trigger my fight or flight response. This one brings a small smile to my face. Restitution payment number 12. Complete transfer. $13,542.18. Denver morning light streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating my open-concept living room with its clean lines and minimal furnishings. The mountains rise beyond glass, solid and unchanging, unlike the life I left behind in Texas. I take a slow sip of coffee, savoring both the bitter richness and the moment. Final payment. Case closed. My phone buzzes with a text from Monica Walsh. Confirmation received. Final paperwork will arrive Monday. Congratulations, Madeline. Few clients see this through to completion. I place my mug on the concrete countertop, the sound sharp and definitive in the quiet space. Running my fingertips along the cool surface, I remember signing the closing documents 3 months ago, the weight of the pen in my hand like a scepter of independence. My condo sits 14 floors up in downtown Denver, close enough to walk to my new office. The space costs less than what I'd saved for my craftsman bungalow in Dallas, but offers something the bungalow never could: complete severance from financial manipulation disguised as family obligation. The electronic chime of my security system announces Jillian's arrival. She strides in with 2 garment bags and the confident energy that helps sell me this place. The conquering hero needs something spectacular for her big debut. She hangs the bags on my bedroom door. Options for your keynote. Navy would look. She catches herself. Actually, I brought burgundy and charcoal. Keynote speaker. I repeat, the title still unfamiliar. From financial crime victim to featured presenter at the National Financial Ethics Conference in 30 days. Jillian drops onto my sofa, tucking her legs beneath her. From family ATM to head of controls and risk operations. Your boss was smart to promote you. Nothing teaches risk management like becoming a case study. I joined her, tucking the notification printout into a leather portfolio. I still can't believe NGC created a branch office here just to keep me. They recognized your value. The rest of us always saw it. She taps the portfolio. New program outline? I nod. Financial literacy initiative for employees. The company approved the full budget yesterday. From victim to educator. Jillian's smile turns sly. To be launched exactly 1 year after Ashley drove off in your Tesla. Not my Tesla. Never was. The correction comes automatically. My auditor's precision unchanged despite everything else that's shifted. I cross to the key hook by my door where my future home keychain hangs beside the actual keys to my actual home. The engraving has worn smooth from years of anxious handling. Beside it, in a simple black frame, sits my first mortgage statement proof of a promise kept to myself. Have you heard from any of them? Jillian asks, voice careful. Mom sent a birthday card last month. No mention of Dad's testimony or Ashley's 18-month sentence. I shrug. Progress, I guess. The woman in my bathroom mirror each morning looks both familiar and new, with clearer eyes and straighter shoulders than the woman who once made excuses for financial abuse. Sometimes I barely recognize her confident posture and direct gaze. Other times, I see the same determined girl who opened her first savings account at 12, already sensing she would need to protect herself. My laptop pings with an email notification. Subject line: NGC, Financial Ethics, Keynote, Final Schedule. They've given me the closing session, I tell Jillian. Apparently, when financial professionals become victims, draws a crowd. Revenge by success. Jillian raises an imaginary glass. The best kind. I shake my head. Revenge wasn't ruining them. It was refusing to let them ruin me. Jillian's expression softens. You never wanted to destroy them. I wanted consequences, not catastrophe. I run my finger along the frame holding my mortgage statement. The strangest outcome wasn't the legal victory, but discovering that family can be chosen rather than inherited. My phone rings with an unfamiliar number. Dallas area code. Turner. My professional greeting, automatic after years of practice. Miss Turner? This is Marla Jenkins. I work with the reintegration program at Dawson State Jail. My spine straightens as I activate speakerphone for Jillian's benefit. Your sister has been teaching a financial literacy class for inmates approaching release dates. Several mentioned it's been unhelpful. The woman's hesitation conveys her surprise. Ashley referenced your situation during yesterday's session. Not by name, but she used herself as the cautionary tale. I finished, an unexpected emotion catching in my throat. Yes, she mentioned you in every class, apparently. After the call ends, Jillian watches me, waiting. I save the number in my contacts. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give those who hurt us is refusing to let them define us. I look up at the mountains framed in my windows, distant yet clear. The strength to walk away is also the strength to someday, perhaps, walk back on entirely new terms. I open my laptop and begin typing the opening lines of my keynote address. Financial abuse leaves no visible bruises, But the scars run deeper than any balance sheet can record. 30 days to transform my personal tragedy into professional purpose. The countdown feels different now, not a deadline, but a beginning.